been making a lot of news. But very nice to have you, Honorable Mwine Mpaka.
Thank you very much, and good evening to our viewers.
And from Kasanda North Constituency, is that correct?
Yes, Kasanda North.
Kasanda North Constituency, the Honorable Nsamba, Patrick Nsamba. Very nice to have you on the show.
Thank you, Charles. Good evening, viewers.
And Honorable Nsamba, you chair the
Public Accounts Committee. Central. Yes, there are 3 public account committees. There is PAC Central that oversees ministries and central government agencies. Then you have PAC Kosase, that is led by Honorable Mwadanku Nyingi for commissions and the state enterprises. Then there is PAC Local Government that focuses on local government accountability. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Honorable Mpaka, for the benefit of our viewers, your committee.
I'm the chair of the Committee on Physical Infrastructure.
Physical Infrastructure.
And he's my chair again under PAC.
He's a member of Public Accounts Committee.
So where is the distinction drawn between Committee on Physical Infrastructure and these accountability committees?
Chair. Public accounts committees deal
We've
with...
been a little bit more familiar with Public Accounts Committee. It's been around for some time. Local government, physical infrastructure. Parliament is divided between standing committees and sectoral committees.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now, physical infrastructure is a sectoral committee focusing on the sector on physical infrastructure development in the country. But PAC is mainly focusing on accountability. Why is people can confuse Honorable Mpaka? He went a little further into his work this time round, into asking questions. And people may have thought that he was dealing with the public accounts at that stage. But all sectoral committees can and have the ability to achieve that.
I want to start in a bit unconventional way and go to Godba Mushabe and then come to Odongauto. You've worked, especially your work previously at Accord, your work at GLIS, and your advocacy work elsewhere. You've been watching the work of Parliament fairly closely. You've watched, now there seems to be some bit of competition between the different committees, Parliament as an institution, ministers, everybody. It looks like, and the traditional anti-corruption agencies. The role of oversight that the 2 gentlemen here represent in that Parliament, and the questions they've been asking, especially he's been asking questions. He laid a report to the main house, to the House today, did you?
Yeah. No, that was on Tuesday.
On Tuesday. Yeah, he's laid his report on Tuesday or from his committee, raising significant questions. Let me put a very general question. Do you think from where you sit, Parliament is asking the right questions of the right people?
Yeah, I really believe maybe that's not even the right question. For me, the right question is whether Parliament is still in its position to do its work. Because for the work some of us have been doing over the years, we have seen the deterioration of institutions of state, of institutions of governance, that they have been deteriorating over time. That right now, and I think you have summarized it in posing your question, Charles, that the Parliament, the institutions that are supposed to fight corruption, the competition, right now you can even ask yourself who exactly is in charge. So we know that Parliament is one of the core institutions of state as a third arm of the state. And it has legislative, oversight, and representation responsibilities. In all these cases, you can ask whether Parliament actually is still in a position to be able to do the work that is assigned to it in Parliament. Does Parliament still represent us as citizens? if for me as an ordinary Ugandan or an ordinary Ugandan out there watching us, if you went and asked some 1,000 Ugandans, how many of them would say they feel the representation of the citizens by parliament? The parliament...
As a policy analyst, you go beyond sentiment. You analyze. You go beyond sentiment.
Absolutely.
You deal with facts.
Yeah.
These accountability committees are producing reports. They're interrogating. You must have watched what Mwine Mpaka was doing in his committee. You must have watched Monsamba.
Yes.
So why do you pose the question that is Parliament representing you?
No, it's not that these are members of Parliament who do incredibly good job, incredibly good work. But for all those of us who follow, we know how these reports even will end. Mwine Mpaka can start an investigation in a committee dealing with the project. I can determine now whether he can complete that project or even whether it can end pathway. I've argued time and again that especially for the 12th Parliament, where we saw for the first time in the history of this country, the Speaker of Parliament and his deputy surrendered to a vigilante group. And right now, almost all the members of Parliament, I don't know Patrick and Mwine Mpaka, I don't know if also they are also members of PRU. But essentially, you can see that that's an institution that has completely been decimated, that you as a citizen, you cannot just depend on it, because the lines of responsibility and accountability have been blurred. And therefore, it is not enough to say the committee has done a report, because for the committee to do its reports, bring them to Parliament, and Parliament processes them for the benefit of the country, you must have an institution that is credible, that is confident, that can be trusted.
Honorable Odongaoto, let me come to you. You've sat in that Parliament from a very young age. You were 25 when you entered Parliament? 30?
23.
23?
Yeah.
You entered Parliament at 23, left?
At 43.
At 43. So 20 solid years in Parliament. You have tried to go back, haven't you? What would you change in terms of accountability?
Yeah, now a handful of questions.
I asked one question.
Yeah. You see, I think for now, Parliament is controlling the moral voice. The moral voice is giving the public a semblance of hope. But what I would change, or what needs to be changed, we should first change the law, because the current law is that the resolutions of Parliament are advisory to the executive. Like my good friend Mpaka is doing an excellent job. He's challenging the tolls, how many years? You know, there are ministers who are extending these people. They say, I give you like 5 more years, and they take $3 million. So this road has almost paid its cost and should be handed to Ugandans. So his committee will come with resolutions. And the thin line is that the resolutions are advisory to the executive. And that would also happen with my good friend, Honorable Patrick. So we need to change the law that parliamentary resolutions should be binding on Ugandans, because these are the people's representatives elected from all over the country. But the moment we pass a resolution as Parliament, and it is not implemented by the executive, then we would have wasted taxpayers' money for nothing. Last week I stated here that even if the Mpaka Mwine report is not implemented within 5 years, it is going to expire with this Parliament. So I think a lot has to change as far as legislation is concerned. And there are also some ugly things happening in Parliament. I don't know if you have ears. For example, the very week the MPs were granted 315 million each for a car purchase. That is the very week that the NRM government chief whip, Honorable Acheng, again went to State House in a caucus meeting asking the president that this time the MPs need their Christmas early. You have just got the money this week, and in that very week again you are asking the president that the
money was for the car.
Yeah, it's for the car, but
the other one is for Christmas.
So what about the salaries for what? So again you need another Christmas package, like maybe 100 million. So some of the unwritten rules, because the moment a member of parliament cannot be comfortable with 30 million a month, then your financial problems will not be solved in this world. Because there are nurses working for 700,000. So what am I saying? I'm saying, other than the moral voices, like today, the Committee of Government Assurance summoned the ministers, and they refused to come. They refused to appear before Honorable Zake. They did not come, and there is no explanation. They say they prefer to write their answers. So what is happening in the institution that a committee chaired by National Unity Platform summons ministers and they don't come? And yet you'll find that if Kabanda summons ministers, they would show up. So you don't know where power lies. And still to Parliament, I'm good, these two are my friends. We need also to see other committees working. For example, what is the Committee of Foreign Affairs doing? What is the position of how much money has Uganda government given for Tunu campaign? Foreign Affairs Committee should come the way Honorable Mpaka Mwine has come up. Other candidates are using planes. They are flying from country to country. Can the Committee of Foreign Affairs ask how much money has been given? We also need the Committee of Defense and Internal Affairs to come up the way Honorable Mpaka Mwine has come up. The UPDF soldiers who are in Somalia, they have not been paid up to now. Other countries, Rwanda, Burundi, have been paid. We want the Committee of Foreign Defense and Internal Affairs to go to Somalia to call these UPDF soldiers because they cannot talk. If they talk, they will be arrested. So we want to see other committees of parliament. They are like that. Gender, labor and social development, ICT, health, the education, sports. We want to see all the committees functioning. Of parliament functioning.
Let me come to the honourable. I wanted to come to the honourable members of parliament later, but I want to start with you, Mwine Mpaka. One is, if you could quickly run us through your report, because the highlight that has come out of your investigation in this session is the road toll.
Yeah.
Uganda's first road toll, the schedule for its repayment of that loan from the tolling that everybody pays is supposed to run up to 2034. From what your committee has revealed, we could actually cut that short. So can you run us through your findings?
Thank you. First of all, before I go to the report, I want to confirm that all committees are working, but they may not have the visibility because we sit at the same time. So I wouldn't want to conclude that they are all not working.
We'll interrogate that.
Yes. And as for the issue of whether our reports bite or not, because of the principle of separation of power, like Honorable Dongoto said, our resolutions, parliamentary resolutions, are more advisory, and it's not a law that these must be actually implemented. We normally use political pressure, financial leverage, and also procedure sanctions. We can block a budget. We can also have a minister censored. We have action taken reports which are provided for under Rule 229. And after a parliament report is adopted, you are given 60 days to report back. Now, as to the report on the express toll, this was an investigation we started. When a committee is set up, we have an induction session with the ministries to bring us up to speed. So issues were raised about the express toll, and members said, no, let's look into this matter. What was glaring is there's a contractor that was, private contractor that was given this road to manage at a tune of 122 billion for a period of 5 years. But what captured our attention was UNRWA at that time carried out a feasibility study, and they envisaged that they would collect around 146 billion in a period of 5 years. So it did make sense. You have estimated to collect 146 billion, and you're giving a private contractor 122 billion, which means the government in 5 years would retain, I would say, about 24 billion, and the rest would go to a private contract. So this is what raised the concern.
Some people, Honorable Parker, have an issue with referring to public money as government money. So to say the Ugandan public, because we're paying the toll. Yes, and the loan was borrowed in the name of the people of Uganda. So the country would get back.
But who is government? Who is government?
I don't know. I think Godba has an interpretation.
Can you show me government?
Conventional government is the president and the cabinet.
Yes,
the executive.
So the money that you are talking about belongs to Ugandan taxpayers.
Yes.
Please go ahead.
Look, just to cut the story short, let me go with your idea of the taxpayers. It's true, this money belongs to the taxpayer. So we carried out an investigation and we discovered so many issues, so many glaring issues. Performance. For example, this contractor was given a contract with specific conditions. They were supposed to set up an independent traffic monitoring system. This system would have helped us audit the number of vehicles, the revenue, but from 2022 up to date, there is no system, which means we cannot audit. And the Auditor General shocked us yesterday and told us he did not do a revenue audit since 2022 because there's no system for him to audit. This means these people are assuming they have been taking money. They are going to keep taking this money.
So please clarify this. What was the cost of that road? What's the loan on that road?
If I remember the figures, inclusive the government counterpart funding, it's about $472
million.
$1 million.
$1 million, that translates into about how much in Uganda shillings? How many?
I would be about
we are sure
close to 1.5 trillion.
It's about 1.6 trillion.
1.6 trillion.
1.5, 1.6
and 1.6 trillion if after deducting the operational cost of the company, of the private company, 122 billion, you said?
Yes, 122 billion.
122 billion, and they anticipated...
they had anticipated 146.
146.
In a period of 5 years.
So you remain with 24.
It's about 24.
About 24 billion. If you're remitting 24 billion is about $7 million? No, $6 million?
No, about $7 million.
About $7 million? Yeah, $6.57 million. How long will it take to pay for that road?
It could take even up to 400 years if we remain in this private arrangement of private contractors. Originally, we had recommended...
And the private contractor you're talking about is not the private contractor in the eye of the storm now, because that contract changed hands some months ago.
During our investigation, the findings were a company known as Aegis was given this contract, but they seem to be an undisclosed arrangement with Pinnacle, because Aegis from the onset surrendered, okay, it's subcontracted Pinnacle, but Pinnacle has been doing almost 90% of everything, including the toll revenue. You see, you give a private contractor a contract to manage the toll, but you again give him authorization to collect the revenue on our behalf and bank on our behalf. Then you again do not enforce terms in the contract, specifically installing an independent traffic monitoring system for us to audit him. It's now 6 years. We can't audit because there's no system, and it was provided for in the contract.
I'm of course conscious of the fact that neither Aegis nor Pinnacle nor the contracting ministry or agency of government is here in studio to explain certain things. So I'm taking your story for what it is. We'll interrogate the other aspects of that story. So they are given a contract, and you said this is the money they're expected to collect over what period of time?
5 years.
5 years.
146.
146.
The UNRWA at that time anticipated to collect 146 billion in a period of 5 years. And then you give a contract of 122. And this is why we are faulting the board of UNRWA, the ED of UNRWA, the user department, the procurement department, because we don't understand under what circumstance you can do such a thing.
Corruption.
You anticipate 146, you give 122. And we asked the ED when she appeared before the committee. she requested for more time to give us a written submission, and up to now we have never received to justify how they came up with 122.
You said there seemed to be some kind of understanding between the main contractor and the subcontractor.
Yes, this is because Pinnacle eventually innovated. So Aegis left the country and Pinnacle took the entire liability 2 months before the contract had expired.
Wow.
So for you to risk and take liability for the actions of another company, but that's not even the gist of the matter. The employees were given contracts by Aegis. After a period of 1 year, they were given contracts by Pinnacle. So they have contracts of Pinnacle, contracts
That's
of
where
Aegis.
the deal was.
The general manager of Aegis is the general manager of Pinnacle. The internal auditors of Pinnacle are the internal auditors of Aegis.
From what you found, who is Aegis?
Well, Aegis,
Yeah.
unfortunately, we didn't interact with the company directors. But when you look
No, but
online,
in terms of its registration,
Aegis is a company
it's a corporation
located in France, a reputable company at that. But the Aegis Uganda seems to be totally different. When you look at the functionality of the system at the toll, it's really wanting. We stood in the booth where those young gentlemen and ladies sit. Everything is manual. The classification of a car is the one who decides if it's a motorcycle or a lorry, is the one who decides. Is the one who decides how much to input. Is the one who opens the barrier automatically. So it means we tried, we used the Costa and we paid 5,000. The Costa should be paying 15. And the Costa passed. Of course, we came back and paid, but it was an investigation.
Yeah.
So everything is money. For a system like this is more or less a system in a supermarket. Even the system at the shopping malls and Entebbe airport is more sophisticated than this one.
No, me as a user, I've always asked myself, why would a road toll of a road like Expressway pay cash? Because for me, that has always been the most curious. I'm like, in this era, you still have to pay cash? So for me, it has always been a red flag.
and to largely a cash economy. We are. I mean, you might be lucky to have a card, to use a credit card or use a debit card, or have a fuel card. Majority of Ugandans still use cash.
Yeah, but we go at the airport and there is a machine. You go and pay at the machine and come with the card and pass through the gates. So why is that not possible for this road toll?
You've seen the systems installed on shopping malls has just been referring to.
Yeah.
But I'm a little curious before I come to Honorable Sama, but you have been quiet for a long time, so I need to bring you in. From your own committee, Park Central, lots of issues also emerging from there.
Certainly, and they've been emerging for a long time. But corruption is a system, and if you want to fight it, you must have a proper system. Today we are discussing public accounts committees, but our results can go as far as the willingness of the sitting government. Over the world, where there are governments that are willing to fight corruption, these institutions are empowered to do what they are supposed to do. Unfortunately, in our country, statements about corruption, Chisanja no more sleep, Chisanja hakuna mchezo, all those ones, they are just only used as buzzwords and political statements that are meant to support. Now, when you have a report of a committee of parliament, like that one of Mwine Mpaka,
Of the committee.
they will say Mwine Mpaka Committee of Infrastructure. It has come out with clear, glaring facts that cannot be disputed by either the Minister of Works nor by anyone in government. But its recommendations can only go as far as the willingness of that one, the person in government. Because at the end of the day, if Aegis or Pinnacle Security are not just fronts, because me, I have a strong belief that these are just fronts, and there is someone who is benefiting. There is no government anywhere in the world where you can be told that, you know, you collect 3.5 billion and they bank 1.2 billion and the government will sleep for another day across the world. But because the owner of Aegis or Pinnacle Security must also be the real beneficiary of that Entebbe Express, are not are not Pinnacle Security or Aegis. Why I say they use the words front, you can be used the Charles for the benefit of another person. If between Tuesday and today we would have seen the minister coming up with a strong statement to say, this what we heard from this inquiry, government has taken the following step, and we have acted like this. Now, that sanitizes government to see that government is there for the people. Because for me, Ugandans are going to pay that loan. But the plan was we pay the loan from the money that is collected. And that is why Ugandans are willing to pay. Now, Mwinempaka and his committee comes up with the fact to say, hey, whatever you're collecting is being stolen. And it is a fact that whatever you're collecting, much of it is being stolen. Now, as government that is for the people and does not take the rest of citizens as tenants and themselves taking themselves as landlords, would have come with a strong statement to say, we have, within 1 day, by the way, you don't need months to start the reports. You come up to say, I have acted on this. Now, public accounts committees, the ones we lead, produce a lot of information for government to act on. A lot of information. But because the willingness of the government we have is a little limited,
a little.
The government is limited into taking actions. Because Parliament doesn't have police to arrest. It is government with the police.
You're going off on you're going into the Book of Lamentations, Honorable Samba. You've been sitting in that Parliament. You were there in the previous term, both you and Honorable Mwinempaka. If this is the situation, why haven't you acted differently? Why haven't you used your power in Parliament to change the laws, to make sure that your reports acted on? I haven't seen a proposal.
Charles,
yes.
I don't want you to talk like that and behave as if you came yesterday. Odongoto was in the Parliament for 20 years.
He gave up and quit.
For 20 years. All these contributions have been made. But I began from that we go as far as the government is willingness. All institutions that we have, by the way.
What then is the relevance?
All institutions
what
we have.
What then is the relevance of the accountability committees?
Charles, if you're talking about the law.
I'm asking, what then is the relevance of these accountability committees of Parliament, like the Public Accounts Committee that you had?
Now, Charles, the people who formulated the law expected a government that will implement the law.
You are the lawmakers, as far as I'm concerned.
If I don't think there is a problem with the law. I don't think. The problem is the willingness of the government. I don't think there is a problem. Because Article 90 of the Constitution clearly states and gives Parliament powers to act on this. Parliament has severally acted and produced reports for government to act on. Now, you cannot sit here and blame Parliament for the inaction of government.
When you, the elected member of Parliament, representing the people of Kasanda North, who are watching you now, listen to you, kicking that responsibility, kicking the can to some amorphous entity called government. That Mwine Mpaka, when I asked him, I said, is it government or the citizens of Uganda? He said, who is government? Who are the citizens of Uganda? I mean, you leave the rest of us at sea to say, you are the leaders, you are the representatives. We see each year corruption, Uganda, ranking very high. I need to look at the numbers of the Transparency International on corruption rankings. I think about number 146 or something.
No, normally they're about.
Yes, high up there in corruption index, perception index. The IGG tells us the country bleeds 11 trillion annually to corruption. We meet corruption every day. I mean, anybody who has gone through that otherwise beautiful road called the Entebbe Express Highway, reputed as the most expensive road of its length and design, I think, in the world.
It is now 35 billion per kilometer.
But willing to pay the toll for the convenience it will bring, but also in the expectation that this toll I'm paying is going to ease and pay off the loan.
Yeah.
Maybe the government can move on to another project. And we here, we listen, we're excited when we watch you in Parliament, putting these government officials to task. And then you produce a report, and we look at each other. We don't know what's going to be the report.
Yeah, and this is, and exactly this is what I am talking about, Charles. The way the Constitution is made and the powers given to every institution. For example, Auditor General produces these reports. Public accounts committees act on them. Parliament passes resolutions. Who is supposed to implement these resolutions? It is the other institutions of, for example, the permanent secretaries, for those recommendations that concern the permanent secretaries. IGG to make further investigations, ODPP for prosecutions, and other institutions. So why I insist that we can go as far as the willingness of the government, and for me, I know what I mean when I say government, I mean the state. I mean the state. Now, when my brother Godba comes up and tells you that all these institutions in the cycle are weakened, the question is, who is weakening them? Parliament is not exceptional. It's one of the institutions that have been weakened. How do you weaken Parliament? Is for them to recommend that please, because of the so much loss made by this permanent secretary, relieve him of these duties. Government looks on. Act on this principal accountant. Government looks on.
I want to ask you, Honorable Nsamba.
Yes, sir.
You sit in that powerful chair as chairperson of the committee.
Yeah.
Yes. How do you feel and how do you reconcile your position as chair of the powerful Committee of Public Accounts Central and what you're telling us?
We make a contribution. Our contribution.
What's the contribution?
Our contribution is to scrutinize Auditor General's reports. And we report to Parliament.
So the toughness we see?
Within the system, that's what we can do. The powers I have is acted on by government.
Do you feel frustrated?
Now, we would discuss better, Charles, if we went and looked through all the previous parliamentary recommendations. Then we saw, if we just picked on the last 10 years, then we evaluated it versus what government is acting on those institutions. So for me, you can only accuse us on weaknesses if we have not done what we are supposed to do.
Honorable Mwine Mpaka laid out what accountability committees of parliament can do. I think someone else had also, was it Odongaoto? You could refuse, for example, because you do the appropriation. We haven't seen a ministry go back with its money refused. We haven't seen, you could, yeah.
Yeah. I totally agree with you,
Yes.
Charles. Charles, that is
The last time you passed a budget, and which was the previous parliament, you passed a budget and refused to pass a budget because you had some issues on the allocations. It came back as it was, and you still passed.
Yeah,
Yes.
Charles, on that part where Parliament, because there are excesses within Parliament, there are actions within Parliament, we can do using the instruments we have. On that part, I agree with you, that continuously our presiding officers, continuously our committees of Parliament, continuously they fail to respect their own resolutions quite often. I totally agree with you on that. For example, you can recommend as Parliament that this PS should be relieved of his duties, and that person is not relieved of his duties, and you act the following financial year as though there was no parliamentary resolution of that nature. Now, on that part where you said, but you said this, you recommended this, why didn't you act using that power? I totally agree with you.
Let me
and there is a lot that needs to be done for Parliament to use the little power or to use the powers Parliament has, especially on resolutions they can act on.
Just before I go to Mpaka, you've provoked another question for me. Most accountability committees of Parliament, Public Accounts Committee Central, Public Accounts Committee Local Government, Public Accounts Committee, or what we commonly know as COSASE, the Committee on State Enterprises and Government Corporations, are headed by the political opposition.
Yes.
Do you actually add value as the political opposition leading this?
Wow, I really don't know why you ask such a question. Do you add value?
Does it add value? Does it make a difference between a committee you head as an opposition politician and a committee he heads as
why the law required that they are headed by the opposition? The intention was to keep scrutiny of government going on. Now, unless you want to say, Charles, that the quality of recommendations and
everyone is trying to show they're working at the moment. What is happening now is we are selling hope. But if for how long? Because if action is not taken, if the different organs or arms don't take action, then people are going to get discouraged. I saw Balam lamenting he had arrested an engineer before he reached the next district. The engineer was set free. So all this is going to demoralize, and people are watching. So if all the organs don't do their jobs, our job stops at that advisory part.
There was a judge.
I see accountability committees of Parliament referring people you have called in as witnesses to the CID. You have a whole CID unit, or Police Criminal Investigations Directorate office stationed at Parliament, and you're handing over people every day. What we wait for to see, and we hardly ever get to see, is that somebody transitions from the CID into the dock.
What happens when we send officials to CID? They record statements, and these statements are later on used by the relevant agencies after the reports have been adopted, because we can't be the judges and executioners at the same time. It's not possible. So when we send this report to police, they record statements which are helpful for future investigations.
And does future investigation actually ever happen?
At times it does, and at times it does not happen.
Would you remember?
For example,
you've led many investigations.
Yes.
Would you remember one that proceeded to court and?
There's one we are still waiting for. When I was on the trade committee regarding cooperatives, and Geraldine Sally, I remember, she was the PS then, and she was removed from the acting role of an accounting officer. So we don't know what is going to happen next. We know there's action being taken, but we have to be patient with the system. So, and there are so many other examples, but like I said, all the organs must do their jobs. Ours stops at the presentation, our oversight function of these reports, and sending them to the relevant agencies, requesting for action taken reports. We can also go the hard way and put the sanctions on the budgets. But when you block a ministry from getting a budget, you're also denying those civil servants' salaries. So it's at times, and you're also denying people service. If it's a health ministry, people want medicine, and you're saying, no, this is a thief, but you're denying other people the service they should have got. So it's a bit tricky for us. But I believe we are doing our job.
From the perspective of the law, because you're legislators, have you found any areas that need fixing in the law to make your work more effective and deliver results?
We could say, for example, if you said Parliament should have more powers to prosecute, it can also be a necessary evil. You never know. It can also be misused. Maybe not by me, not by Honorable Patrick. So it's good, like I said, for separation of powers, let everyone do their jobs. Gentlemen,
Godba and Honorable Dongauto, you have 30 committees of parliament, at least, maybe about 30 committees of parliament, all of them trying to hold the central government to account. You have agencies that are anti-corruption. Some people joke, we were joking about it last week on this show here, if Honorable Dongauto remembers, that what the Auditor General does is a post-mortem. Yeah. And what you do a second post-mortem on the post-mortem done by the Auditor General. Okay. What you never get to see is that the cause of death, the cause of death in one particular case is used, the understanding of that is used to prevent another death. And that's should be the purpose of a post-mortem. Shouldn't it be? Yeah. Odongauto.
You see, President Museveni will not manage to fight corruption in Uganda. He's time-bad, he's magnanimous. Today there's zero on a criminal, he's very bitter. Tomorrow he forgives. It is his character.
Maybe he forgets.
And he forgets. That is the character of the state. So for anyone to think corruption can be fought under President Museveni, I don't think it is possible.
That's resignation, isn't it?
I don't think it is possible because the president appoints the director of public prosecution. The president appoints the judges. The president appoints the IGG. The president appoints the director of CID. The president appoints the director of Interpol. Now, how do you explain, I had resolved myself not to mention names when I come to this show. How do you explain the DPP appointed by the president dropping charges on Amos Lugolobi, whom we also, he has iron sheets for Karamoja on his cowshed? The DPP just came and said, no, they prosecute. He's a free man. Yesterday, someone was forgiven. The other day, so people who steal government funds, actually they talk among ministers now that if you don't make your money under President Museveni's regime, you will not make it. That is the political talk among the elite. Wow. That if you don't get rich under President Museveni's regime, you will never be rich. Because the future, no one knows. So all the systems under President Museveni, NRMs, in relation to fighting corruption, is flawed. Almost 40% of the ministers have corruption scandals in their docket. Any ministry you touch, ICT, there is a scandal. You come to foreign affairs, there is a scandal. Standard gauge railway, there is a scandal. Today, another minister...
Even the meter gauge railway.
Everything.
Meter gauge railway is the one that was procuring... meter gauge is the one that is procuring those wagons.
Yes.
That apparently disappeared.
In every area of government you touch, there is a scandal. For example, these Umeme meters, they run faster than the way electricity runs in Dubai. They brought 11,000 fake meters from China, and people have them in their homes. You go to national infrastructure backbone. We gave money for government to get internet from the sea and take it to all the sub-county headquarters in Uganda by digging underground. What happened? They got the money, by the time the minister was Dr. Chris Berumozi, they now started paying MTN and Airtel. Uganda is one of the few countries in the world where you get internet from booster to booster, which is one of the leading causes of cancer. We should have dug them on the ground. So every area is scandal. The second thing I've seen under the government of President Museveni is that the definition of government, which you were taught in primary, civics, what is government? For the people, by the people. Today, government is where you go and steal public money and come and invest home. So anyone, and actually if you become a leader like Mpaka Mwine and Patrick, the moment you go home and a poor man, the villagers will also laugh at you. That you were up there, how did you come back? the same way you left. So there is also acceptance of corruption. So people come to government to steal money and take it to their villages. Now government is poor. Government has now started borrowing money. The citizens have stolen through treasury bills and bonds. Government is now borrowing money from the citizens. The citizens who stole the money from the government. The only initiative we see fighting corruption in this government, because I've just said President Museveni cannot. The only initiative we see in fighting corruption in this government, again, is PLU. Because you see the young tax. You have seen the Minister of Works. Today he was digging graves. They are empty graves. These engineers, they just go and build graves so that government pays more. They were all empty graves.
I've seen on TikTok a fancy looking house on the outside that has no floor, on the inside has no plaster, and the iron sheets are rusty. But on the outside it looks like a very nice house. And he said the minister opened the house and he said the builders were asking for 11 billion in compensation because the house, and I wanted to bring that question to Mpaka, but we'll come to it later. Or that infrastructure corridor where a road is supposed to pass. People go and
but just imagine today they build fake graves, 12 of them, because when they are compensating, they give more money for transporting, exhuming and transporting the dead bodies. They dug the graves and found nothing, just bricks and grass. So the level of corruption...
The bodies had decomposed.
There is nobody, the ground is hard, there is even no single... So the only...
Where there is nobody, there is a skeleton.
There is even no skeleton. So the level of corruption, to the extent that Ugandans are kind of fed up, when you see them now accepting the PLU method, which is also questionable in law, but they say at least something is what?
Is working.
Is being done, because we say a droning man can clutch a snake. Because what can we do? You are going to drown. The only rope available is a snake. So,
as Pierre, you taken a corrupt person in the basement.
I don't speak for them, but what I'm trying to say, if the government of President Museveni, the moment you can put on yellow and move with his name, it is safer to steal in the current government. So what Balaam is doing is just chasing the chicken thieves, the squirrels, the hunters. But the actual thieves have lead vehicles in this government, the actual thieves. We even know of an ambassador who left a country that is going to the airport. They picked the Uganda flag, dropped him to the airport. Then the driver came back. He got away from the airport and went to a lodge and he picked per diem on Uganda government. He's now an ambassador in United Arab Emirates. In that, why can't they recall him home? We know of ministers who have removed engines of government vehicles, Toyota, and put it in personal vehicles. It is in the Auditor General report. And you still appoint them ministers. So the only person who has been convicted for corruption is this lady, Agnes Nandutu. But all the other thieves are at large. It's frustrating. So Mpaka, you are doing a good job. Msamba, you are doing a good job. But let me tell you, in this Entebbe Express Highway, you will not succeed. Because you'll find influential people in government are the ones enjoying that money.
They are syndicates.
That is how we failed on Uganda Property Holdings Limited. They are syndicates. They are cartels. Key people. And I think they will even start calling you to abandon that Entebbe Express Highway investigation. Or they will tell the Speaker of Parliament not to put it on the order paper. So the general feeling down there, the ordinary Ugandans, they say if they get an opportunity, they will also steal because it is time for stealing.
Good, but I want to come to you. The Entebbe Express is just an example.
Absolutely.
Of what could have potentially, I mean, of everything else that we're seeing, because if you piece together Entebbe Expressway, where Minister Fred Byamukama was, the graves that he's talking about, lined along the same stretch with those houses that are supposed to be fancy houses. There's some house that is being used as a store. Someone built it. There is a guard. Someone has been guarding it for a year. Doesn't know who owns it. Doesn't know who owns the house. But what does this mean, Godba, in terms of this fight against corruption, in terms of the performance of the economy? What does this mean?
I think, first of all, I would want to agree with Oo here that Museveni is our good leader past prime time. His time is gone. So anybody who thinks that he's trying to fight corruption under President Museveni, that's really a red herring. So, and you see what he has built, either deliberately or unconsciously, is a corruption system. That's why I always characterized NRM as a corruption enterprise, because he runs an organization that survives and thrives on corruption. When we say that corruption is systemic, we are basically trying to explain that corruption is a system. So you cannot fight a system by just doing anecdotes. So in other words, you have to confront the system. Now, if that's the system that basically makes you stay in power, then there is no way you can fight it, because you would be fighting yourself. So that's point number one. Point number two is really the point Mwinempaka raised about and MPs. I think MPs, you guys, you are a very big disappointment. The regime normally comes and says, you MPs, you parliament, you can't make decisions, your things are advisory. And then you hear MPs also coalescing and say, our resolutions are advisory. There is a reason why the Constitution establishes 3 arms of government, and these are equal arms of government. There is no arm of government that is supposed to be greater than the other, because these 3 arms, the executive, the judiciary, the legislature, they serve different purposes. These are equal arms of government. So when either of these arms are doing their job, that is separation of powers. When the one of the arms decides to go and hide, you cannot call that separation of powers. So Parliament in Uganda right now, Parliament in Uganda has been demobilized and assigned a secondary role, to the point that now it has now joined ordinary citizens as a cheerleader. So they basically, MPs now have become cheerleaders. Now, with a few exceptions, of course, sometimes when we see MPs like Mwinempaka, like Patrick and others doing a good job, you feel proud as a citizen. It's a feel-good factor, but we know that at a general level, the Parliament of Uganda is a cheerleader parliament. And so, and how do you do your work without saying you are actually interfering with the other works of the other arms of government? So you have raised the whole issue of DPP. This is supposed to be an independent institution under the Constitution. It is the Parliament that is supposed to guarantee that independence. So when you see the executive encroaching on that independence, and you MPs, you sit back, you are basically letting down the country. You can say these people that we are saying, the people that are arrested, and you saw my friend and brother Wabogo crying because his person has been arrested. And you know, Odrick says, oh, we want the person to be subjected to the due process. And you realize then, all of a sudden, we're all the same. Everybody wants to do the due process. So, but when all the other people are being arrested and tortured, most of these people are quiet until it reaches them.
And they said from tomorrow they will start beating his big stomach.
Yeah, you can imagine.
So that it flattens.
But you see...
And members of parliament, this is something you should raise in the floor of parliament. Actually, as I was driving here, I was thinking that maybe the way we have gazetted all police stations, maybe you should raise it, Honorable Patrick. We should also gazette basement, because the advantage of gazetting is that your relative can visit you there. We also gazette them.
A leader of opposition raised it.
So basically,
could you finish his submission then?
So basically, the point I'm making is that when this happens, the members of parliament, and especially when it comes to, when it has to do with human rights, members of parliament, you can go to parliament and debate and even do committee reports and look at Auditor General's report. If a Ugandan is held incommunicado without due process, that's a reason for a whole parliament to even adjourn. Because your job as a parliament is to defend the constitution and all the rights and privileges of citizens that are guaranteed under the constitution. But this will happen. You are the ones who approved the appointment of the Inspector General of Police. The Inspector General of Police is in hiding. When citizens are being harassed, then MPs are in hiding and say, oh, ours is advisory. The third point that I would make is to say, the corruption, all these people that you are seeing is part of the system of corruption. And I think that's what O was describing, even what Munimpaka has raised about the Entebbe Expressway. So you are talking about the entire corruption machinery. So how do you deal with the corruption machinery? By the way, I should mention that for me, if you have, I mentioned this area, the fact that you have a Speaker of Parliament who is appointed a member of a vigilante group.
What do you call a vigilante group? What is a vigilante group?
Pirau is a vigilante group. There is no other way you can describe it. Because what is its basis? It's headed by the Chief of Defense Forces, whom the Constitution strictly prohibits from engaging in politics. Now, you as a Speaker of Parliament, as an MP, you took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution. All these MPs that are running around the group, they took an oath to protect the Constitution. And so it's basically a basic tenet that you as an MP, your first obligation is to respect that oath. Now, if you don't respect it, then you are a member of a vigilante group, because that's a vigilante group. So essentially, in fact,
vigilantes are useful. Actually, we had our boys, in Lama, we had Amuka.
They had their context.
The UPDF came.
They had their context. But you see, if you look at NRM, and you look at how PRU is doing its business, that is, in fact, PRU is an extension of the NRM corruption. So in other words, I don't agree with you at even an inch that all of a sudden the PRU people are the ones who fight corruption. Because you see, you can't run a country as a mob. What Baram is doing is basically mobocracy. You've failed to build systems over 40 years.